today I will be talking about two of those in the biological sciences. That is the concept of perfection, al-kamal, and the concept of optimality, ahsan khalq, in Allah's creation. Next.
Can you make your volume louder, Prof. Omar?
Volume.
I think we heard Datuk, maybe your volume computer has problem, because I think it's clear.
All right.
That's the problem. I don't know where to change the voice on this new. Can I speak
it's okay.
louder?
If it's clear, it's okay.
Eh?
I think Brother Shazwan said it's okay.
They now hear me well.
Yeah, Prof. Okay.
Okay, great, inshallah. So, nature of biological perfection, Kamal al-Khalq. Allah's creation is perfect. And Allah is the best of creators, Ahsan al-Khaliqeen. He perfected everything that He made. Now, we as humans, we are created in the best image. And sometimes it's an issue because some humans are not happy with the way Allah created them. But whatever image you are created in, that's the best for you, unless it is distorted by disease. Now, also our perfection of our bodies, as the Quran explains, went through stages. خَلَقَكُمْ, Allah created us. فَسَوَّاكُمْ, that's taswiyah, made you in due proportions. فَعَدَلَكُمْ, balanced you, and then فَصَوَّرَكُمْ, then put you in the best picture. So during the embryological stages and our growth, we go through various stages to reach the perfection of biological creation. Now, I want to make this very clear because this is where we differ from the theory of evolution and natural selection. Our creation is perfect. We are created perfectly. It didn't evolve. The theory of natural selection and evolution says that living things keep on changing by chance. The good changes survive. The bad changes do not survive. So to them, that is how perfection occurs biologically. But we don't accept that because we know that the perfection was created de novo. From the beginning, we were created perfect. It's not through the process of mutations and changes and natural selection. Next slide. So these are the verses of the Quran about perfection. ثم خلقنا النطفة علقة فخلقنا العلقة مضغة فخلقنا أنشأنا خلقا آخر فتبارك الله أحسن الخالقين. This is talking about Allah making the best of creation. Now, the verse doesn't show in full. Show the next slide. Next slide. Okay. The verses are not showing in full. Okay. Now, purposiveness in biological creation, غاية الخلق. Whatever Allah created was created with a purpose. This applies to the whole organism. As a whole organism, the purpose of our creation was to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But we can apply this purposiveness, ra'iyya, to the individual constituents. Each cell has got a purpose. Within the cell, the nucleolus, the mitochondrion, has got a purpose. Different tissues have got different purposes. So there is nothing in our body that doesn't have a purpose. And science actually has discovered most of these purposes. There may be some parts of the body for which scientists are still doubting the purpose. They didn't discover it yet, but everything has got a purpose. Now, as human beings, we've got the purpose of maintaining the ecosystem. Unfortunately, we are not fulfilling this purpose very well because we are destroying the environment by our activities. Now, each tissue, as I said, organ and cell, has a specific function in the biological scheme. So we fulfill the purpose of biological creation, Ra'iyat al-Khalq, that there is a reason for the creation of everything. Next slide. Now, there is a purpose for which we are created, that, as the Quran says, أَفَحَسِبْتُمْ أَنَّمَا خَلَقْنَاكُمْ عَبَثًا وَأَنَّكُمْ إِلَيْنَا لَا تَرْجَعُونَ. Do you think that we created you for just like that, with no purpose, with no aim? So it means creation is not haphazard, it's not chance. Everything is purposive. Okay, next slide. Biological creation also manifests another paradigm, another Quranic paradigm, the paradigm of order and harmony in creation, Nizamul Khalq. Now, order and harmony are part of Qadar. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in his Qadar, he ordained everything to be in order. It's not accidental. It's part of deliberate creation. So the perfection you see in our bodies, that the heart and the lungs and the blood circulation and the nervous system operate in order and harmony and perfect coordination, this is part of Qadar. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala planned it this way. It is orderly and harmonious. And it did not occur as part of evolutionary adjustment, as the people of natural selection tell us. It was created in orderly and harmonious from the very beginning. Actually wrong, because if you think that random probability, things happening by chance, slowly will lead to the sophisticated human biological system that we have, if you try to calculate the probabilities, it cannot occur. And I don't know why people still believe in that. Mathematically, it's impossible that a series of random changes will end up as the perfect body that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us. Therefore, denying the existence of one creator is actually an intellectual or mental failure or aberration. It doesn't jive with logic. It's incompatible with logic. And actually, our bodies being orderly and harmonious, everything working in harmony with one another, is a direct proof that there is one powerful creator. The one who created the red blood cell with a certain diameter, which fits the capillaries where that one passes. So it's all orderly, it's all pre-designed, it's all perfect in the creation. The red blood cell, for example, has got that shape, that ovoid shape. That shape provides the highest surface area for the volume. The volume means how much hemoglobin is there, but you need a surface area to be exposed to oxygen consumption. So you have got the highest surface area for the volume. So that's perfect. You cannot have a red blood cell with a different shape because it will be less efficient. Next slide. Allah's creation is beautiful. Jamal al-Khalq. All what Allah created is beautiful and is pleasing to look at. But it's unfortunate that humans have been deceived by shaitan not to see this beauty. So many people are not happy with what they look like. This is because of shaitanic confusion. Allah made us different. Some of us are very tall. Some are very black. Some are yellowish. Some are short. Some are big. Some are small. But this is all part of Allah's creation, and all of this is beautiful. We should appreciate this beauty. But shaitan, working through the media, especially the commercial advertisement, makes us look bad, makes us think that our bodies are not perfect, so that we can buy products. For them, they after profit, and they confuse us. This is a shaitanic confusion. And there is also beauty around us in whatever we look at. The trees around us, the animals around us, the sky, the mountains, all of these are beautiful. But again, shaitan, in his confusion, can blind us and we do not see this beauty. Actually, what happens, it is not eyes that are blinded to the beauty of Allah's creation around in ourselves and around us. It's not the eyes, the physical eye. The physical eye can see, but what happens, it's the inner eye, the eye inside our chest, the sadr. It is blinded by lack of iman. When there is no iman, or the iman is less, we cannot see this beauty. As the Quran says, إِنَّهَا لَا تَعْمَى الْأَبْصَارِ وَلَكِنْ تَعْمَى الْقُلُوبُ الَّتِي فِي الصُّدُورِ. The eyes do not get blind, but it is the heart inside the thoracic cavity that goes blind. So we see everything, but to be able to appreciate the beauty, you need inner iman. If you don't have that iman, you cannot appreciate that beauty. Now, the beauty of Allah's creation manifests in static as well dynamic phenomena. When you look at a mountain sitting there steady, it's beautiful. You look at a cow, it has got beauty, standing. But also when it moves, its movements are graceful. They are pleasing to the eye. So beauty is there in static as well as dynamic phenomena. Now, the beauty is everywhere in humans, in animals, and in plants. And the Quran describes this beauty in graphic detail about the cattle, as we shall see in the next slide. Also, the Quran emphasizes beauty, female beauty, in a special way because it relates to procreation and family raising. Next slide. Okay, the program is cutting off the complete verse. Inshallah, we'll send you the correct one, inshallah. Okay, so here are verses to prove what I said before, but the program is cutting off some of them. Sorry. Okay. Next one. Now, again, as part of the Quranic paradigms is the paradigm of physical laws. Sunanullah fil kawn, sunan. Everything in the world works according to fixed laws. This occurs in biology, this occurs in physics, this occurs in chemistry. Now, in the inanimate world where there is no life, there are laws, like the law of conservation of energy. Now, these laws apply in biology also. Physical laws apply in biology. Our bodies obey the laws of physics, the laws of chemistry. They follow the laws of thermodynamics, because those laws are sunanullah. As Quran says, وَلَن تَجْدَ لِسُنَّةِ اللَّهِ تَبْدِيلًا وَلَن تَجْدَ لِسُنَّةِ اللَّهِ تَحْوِيلًا. Those are sunanullah, those are laws of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that are constant and do not change. But living things have got a difference in terms of laws from non-living things. Living things are able to act in a purposive way. They have got initiative. We can initiate actions. The water cannot initiate an action on its own. The mountain cannot initiate any action on its own. But living things can initiate action. They can decide to move, they can decide to sit down, they can decide to close their eyes. So this is an extra thing found in biological systems. But otherwise, everything follows the sunan. Everything follows Allah's constant laws. Next slide. Now, we've talked about perfection. Perfection of Allah's creation. Now, this perfection reflects the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because only the most powerful creator could create such perfect systems. Until today, no human system has been, even in terms of energy efficiency, more efficient than the body. The liver, for example, converts carbohydrates and proteins and other things into molecules that eventually become energy. Its conversion factor is the highest available in the universe. No car, no engine has got a higher efficiency in terms of energy conversion. So, as I said, we are perfect because we are created by Allah, the most powerful. Human creation cannot be as perfect as Allah's creation, because humans do not have the qudra, the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Next slide. Then there is the issue of uniqueness. Everything that Allah also created is unique, is different from everybody else, everything else. We as humans, we are unique. None of us is similar to another one in everything. Even identical twins, there are differences among them. As Quran says, Bala qadirin an nusawiya banana. The Quran says that we created the fingers different. Allah could have made them the same, but they are different. So organs and tissues, it even says, are also unique. Each cell has got its own biochemical identifiers. They have got receptors. These differ from cell to cell, from tissue to tissue. Even DNA, the building block of our bodies, is different. 99% of human DNA is the same, but you are going to find uniqueness in each person. That is why we use DNA for identification. When someone dies and the body is changed beyond recognition, if we can get a little bit of the body's tissues and analyze the DNA, we can find out who that person is. Why? Because each one is unique. Each DNA is unique. So the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not copying from one template. We human beings, when you go to factory where there is mass production, we try to copy, produce the same template to produce many cars, to produce many books, to produce many cups, many plates. We use one template. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not work from a template. He creates each individual organism, each individual organ, each individual cell or subcellular structure in a unique way. And that's one of the miracles of biological creation. Next slide. Now we want to talk about optimality, ahsan taqweem. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made us in the best shape, in an optimal shape. You cannot find a more efficient or more effective system than what is created. So our organs and systems are perfect. And whatever we do, we cannot produce something better. Now, I want to make clear that optimum is not the same as maximum. Optimum means the balance of various things that produces the best state. It doesn't mean maximum. For example, we as human beings, we are in the best of creation. But we are not the fastest when it comes to running. So when it comes to running, for us, there is an optimum speed that we can run, but not the maximum. Animals have got a higher one. So optimum does not mean maximum. Optimum has to do with the balance of the attributes and properties to produce the best picture. Now, we are not the best in everything as humans, as you know this. Dogs can smell better than we do. Animals can run faster than we do. But we are optimum in the sense that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us the aql, gave us the brain. So we're on balance, we are better than everything else because we have got this brain. Our brain or cerebrum has got the highest surface area for our body volume. So our superior brain enables us to control many things in our environment, to make tools and to take care of the environment. So that's how we're optimal. We are better than other creations, but when you take specific properties, we are not maximum. You cannot run as fast as a tiger. So in speed, the tiger is better than you. But when you combine all the properties, put them together, balance them, we have got the best creation. And I think our creation is perfected by the brain because the brain is very sophisticated and it enables humans to be above everything else. And that's the basis of tasghir. Tasghir means Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put everything He created under our control. We can control everything, but we cannot be controlled by everything else. We can eat everything, plants and animals, but they cannot eat us. Sometimes they do. The Harimau used to eat people in the Malay Peninsula before, but now he can no longer eat us because of our superior brain. Next slide. لقد خلقنا في أحسن تقويم. This verse, it wasn't completed. It says that the human being was created in the best of shapes. أحسن تقويم. Okay, next slide. Now, our body is optimal. For example, there's no useless or superfluous organ or tissue. Every tissue has got a function. Okay? Some tissues have got multiple functions. And then you will notice that tissues got specialization and adaptation to deal with the expected functions. Now, it's very interesting that all cells have got the same DNA. but they don't have the same shape. They don't have the same activities. And this is part of Allah's miracle, that the same DNA in different parts of the body does different things. In the pancreas, it produces insulin. Maybe in the stomach, it produces digestive juices. But the DNA of these various cells is the same DNA. This part of Allah's specialization and optimality, and is a biological miracle. And our bodies are adapted for what they have to do. For example, the upper limb is adapted for manipulation, while the lower limb is for power, stability, and walking. The same way with the pectoral girdle, the pelvic girdle, they are adapted for stability. The shoulder joint is adapted for fine movements. So every part of the body has got a function, and that's a specialized function. But the miracle behind all of this is that different organs, different tissues, different cells, they have got exactly the same DNA. But that DNA in different parts of the body does something different. And that's a miracle of Allah's creation. Next slide. Now, when it comes to gender, okay, you will, if you compare males and females, you are going to see differences. These differences were created deliberately. And there are many people, and I think this shaitan confusing us, and they bring up this gender issue, that the gender should be the same, should all do the same thing. No, the two genders are different. Allah made our height different, our muscle mass different. Men have got more muscles, they have got bigger bones. Women have got things in which they are better than men. For example, women have got a stronger emotional system. They can deal with problems better than men can do. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created these differences because of the optimality, so that each gender can be specialized in special functions that are necessary for the family and society to go on. What is the same is the responsibilities. The responsibilities and the equality before the law are the same between the two genders. They are challenged in the same way to make ibadah, to make salah, to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But in terms of functions, we are not the same. And these differences were created by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's part of the optimality. Now, you could also look at the humans in different parts of the world, the skin pigmentation, for example. People living in the southern hemisphere have got darker skins. People living in the northern hemisphere have got lighter colored skins. This is an adaptation to the environment, because where the sun is stronger, you need more active melanocytes. And you see the differences in color is not even due to the number of melanocytes. The number of melanocytes in the skin is the same in Sweden as is in Equatorial Africa. The same number of cells that determine color. The difference is in the enzyme that activates the production of melanin. That this enzyme is less active in the northern hemisphere than it is in the southern hemisphere, where the skin color is darker. All of these variations are deliberate creations by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they serve an adaptive value. Now, whenever humans try to change Allah's creation, we end up with problems. Because as humans, we cannot understand the optimal balance that keeps our body in the best shape. So when we interfere with it, we create problems. That's why we say we can do cosmetic surgery when there is a disease, when Allah's creation is distorted by disease, by an accident, by fire. But to do it for the sake of doing it has got a problem that borders on the Aqidah, because it means you are not happy with Allah's basic creation. And Allah's basic creation is optimal. Allah created everything optimal. Also, human beings being misled by shaitan will run into trouble. For example, we may want to be more excited. People get addicted to drugs, to narcotics and stimulants, hallucinogens, alcohol, because they want to be more stimulated and more high than what the basic fitra is. And then they start using drugs or even surgery. There's a lot of psychological surgery these days to change your mood. Now, all of this interference with Allah's creation will lead to disasters because we don't know where the optimal balance is. We can only intervene on the body if there is something that is made wrong by disease or by injury. For example, if someone is burned by fire and their face is distorted, yes, we can do surgery, not to make a different face, a new face, but to try to bring it back to the optimal original creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Next slide. Next one. Okay, so now we have come to the end of this, and I think this PowerPoint should be given to all of you, because all the verses of the Quran that I have talked about are available in the references. In the PowerPoint, I don't know, the feed is cut in half, so one side of the verses does not show, but you can read the verses from the references, inshallah, and be able to understand everything. So thank you for listening to me. وَجَزَاكُمُ اللَّهُ كُلَّ خَيْرٍ وَالسَّلَامُ عَلَيْكُمْ وَرَحْمَةُ اللَّهِ وَبَرَكَاتُهُ.
Thank you very much, Prof. Omar, for giving your lecture on a very interesting topic on the science and Quran. You have there are two important points here: the creation, the perfection and creation of Allah. For Allah, whatever Allah created with purpose, and there is a uniqueness in His creation. This has been proven by the test, by the scientific test, DNA, as mentioned by Prof. Omar. There is no similarity in DNA of any human being. So the other thing is important is the optimality, which is Allah doesn't give the maximum, Allah give the optimality. But you have, I will give you another 15 minutes, Prof. Taking 15 minutes of the Prof. Jamal's time, and then for Jamal we take another 15 minutes extra, inshallah, because after this there will be a break. So I know that many of you have anxious to ask questions. You can ask question through the chat box, or you can raise your hand. The administrator will allow you. Very short question so that Prof. Omar will answer precisely in very short period of time. Please. You can entertain one or two questions. Anything in the chat box?
Nuruddin, I don't know, but I think brother, you can unmute yourself. Brother Nuruddin.
Can you hear me, Prof?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you, Prof, for very interesting lecture, Prof. I want to know, Prof. I have two questions. My first question is about the idea of gene editing. gene editing, does it violate the concept of fitrah in Islam? My second question about the idea of evolution, Prof. You mentioned about the evolution of human is contradict Islam. How about the evolution of plant and animal? It is also contradict Islam. Thank you, Prof.
Okay. The voice is rather low. The first one is about fitra. Can I hear that again? I didn't hear it very well. The voice is very low and I don't know how to make it higher here.
Yes, can you hear me, Prof? Hello, Prof?
I hear yes.
Yes,
the
yes.
first question.
Yes. My first question about the gene editing, Prof. The genome editing. Does it violate the concept of fitrah in Islam? Yeah, genome editing, to edit DNA. Yeah. And my second question about the evolution of plant and animal. Does it contradict Islamic view of creation? Thank you.
Okay, I had the second question very well, so I'll start with that one. Evolution is one of those ideas that were proposed by people who want to put Allah out of the equation. They want to say, we don't need a creator. We evolve by chance, by a series of mutations and natural selection, we become sophisticated. Because they were up against a very obvious fact that the human body is so perfect. Could this be done by chance, pure chance? The logic is no. So that's why they came up with an alternative explanation that a series of mutations occur. We start as a fish and things change. We become a frog, an amphibian, we become a reptile, we become a monkey, we become a human. Okay, even within humans that there is evolution. People in Northern Europe are more evolved than people in other parts of the world. This is part of the same shaitanic thinking that there is no creator. Things create themselves and they improve by chance. So this is the main tenet of the theory of evolution. Me, I'm not interested in arguing the biological plausibility of the theory. It's not important because I know it's not a biological theory. It's a philosophical theory. There is a philosophy behind it. And the philosophy behind it is the philosophy of atheism. Living organisms can change, and they do change by Allah's will. As long as you believe that changes can be made by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or with the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because you know very well as humans, we breed animals. We can breed this cow and that cow and produce a different type. But that is done with the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not denying Allah's power. But evolution specifically denies Allah's power. So I never get drawn into discussing the biology of evolution, because I know that's not the main argument. The main argument is the atheistic philosophy that is behind it. Now, the first question, I didn't hear it. It's about fitra and something. The voice is very low.
Yes, Prof, about genome editing, Prof.
Okay, you may write it in the chat. I will come back to it in the chat, inshallah.
Yes, I have typed in the chat, Prof, my question.
Naam?
Yes, I have typed my question in the chat box, Prof. Maybe Professor Jamil Usman can read for you, maybe.
Okay. Okay, the question is, how does Islam go through the non-living thing in modern science? Well, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created the living and then the non-living things. But one thing that we need to know is that the distinction between the living and the non-living is not permanent, because parts of our body actually died. You know, your hair your hair, the top of your hair is dead. The bottom is living and growing. When you come to the virus, a virus, we cannot even tell whether the virus is a living thing or is a non-living thing. It has got properties of a chemical compound, but it also has got properties of a living thing that it can reproduce. So in the end, it's all one creation. And the distinction between living and non-living is not that sharp. Okay, there are some questions in the chat that I can answer. What's the Islamic perspective on gene genome editing? Does it violate the concept of fitrah in Islam? All of these manipulations can be good or bad. They can violate Aqidah or they cannot violate it. It all depends on the intention behind it. If you are going to do genome editing in order to remove a sequence in the DNA that is causing disease and someone gets better, that is something honorable. But if you are going to do genome editing because you feel that you have to change the color of the eyes of your son, you don't like the color Allah gave him or gave her, then you are in trouble. So it really depends on the intention. إنما الأعمال بالنيات. That's a famous hadith from Sayyidina Omar ibn al-Khattab and the Prophet ﷺ, that whatever we do is considered according to its intention. So we look at genome editing and the ethics of genome editing from the intention behind. Now, the second thing, those who do genetic engineering, again, this is the same as genome editing. The technology is a technology, and we can use it. It can be used for good purposes, can be used for bad purposes. But the bottom line is, what is your intention? If your intention is to change Allah's fitrah for no reason, as the Quran says, يُغَيِّرُونَ خَلْقَ اللَّهِ, they want to change Allah's creation for no reason, then that's a no-go area. But if there is a medical benefit, then you can get a fatwa from the fuqaha, and we can do some of these processes. Alhamdulillah.
Any one more? I can go for one more questions. You can raise your hand or you can go to the chat box. Okay, if there is no other question, thank you very much, Prof. Omar, so for taking your time, more than an hour of your time from Riyadh. Thank you very much. So we have participants from all over the world. Some are going through the Zoom, and some are going through the Facebook live, and some are going through the YouTube because the time difference in Africa and other part of the world. So with that, we end our session this morning, and the next meeting with Prof. Omar will be on the same time. Inshallah, next Saturday will be 9 a.m. in the morning. Thank you very much, Prof. Omar. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So our next session will be moderated by Ustazah Jawariyah. Professor Jamal Badi is here to take his section. Please welcome Sister Jawariyah.
Assalamualaikum, Prof. Assalamualaikum, Dato'.
Waalaikumsalam.
Prof. Jamal Badi.
Yes.
So
you hear me?
Yes,
you
Prof.
Hear me?
Yes,
okay,
yes,
okay.
Prof.
Why cannot I share the, where is the?
Yes, Prof. Try to share screen first.
Is it shared now?
Is it works? Yeah. Make it a full screen, Prof. Jamal. Make it full screen.
Is it full screen now?
It's full, yeah.
Okay.
Other Sister Jawariyah.
Okay. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Before we start lecture by Prof. Prof. Jamal Badi, now I want to introduce a bit about his biodata. Okay, Professor Dr. Jamal Ahmad Bashir Badi, originally from Libya, and he graduated from Portland State University in 1982 with a Bachelor in Science with minor in Psychology, and he obtains his bachelor degree, master and PhD in Dawah and Usuluddin from Islamic University of Madinah, Saudi Arabia in 1986, 1990 and 1994 respectively. And in 2001, he obtained a high diploma in human science from IIUM. From July 1994 until the present, Professor Jamal Ahmad Bashir Badi has been with the Kuliah of Islamic Review Knowledge and Human Science. And now he is currently a professor at FIDS. His first book is Creative Thinking, an Islamic Perspective, was published in 2004. His second book is Commentary on 40 Hadith, was published in 2008, and second edition in 2016, and the third edition in 2022. The third book is Islamic Spirit of Creativity, was published in 2020. Prof has been published numerous articles in both local and international journal and has presented paper or at conference and in the area of creative thinking from Islamic perspective. All that is his expert profile. We have known him. Now we want to hear about his lecture. Without further ado, فليتفضل مأجورا.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما يا ذا الجلال والإكرام. آمين. Brothers and sisters, participants, welcome to our session, Thinking Styles in the Quran. How to identify them and their role in Tadabbur Al-Qur'an. And would like to thank the IIIT office in Malaysia for organizing this program, this certificate in Quran and Sunnah studies, through which I will share my humble experience with regard to thinking from Quranic perspective. Okay, for the introduction, we know that Quran is the book of thinking and a rich source of thinking, where the Quran uses more than 40 terms related to thinking. And it demands and obligates people to ponder, contemplate, and reflect upon its verses. The Quranic verses are presented in a various way of thinking to suit the reciter thinking preferences as to realize the above mentioned goal. Okay, let's have a look here. I through my research, and it is also published in my second book on thinking, creative thinking from the second one is creative thinking issues and concepts, by the way. So I shared this in general. This is a summary. What we are going to listen to is like a summary. What I'm going to present, a summary of what has been mentioned in the book, the second book. Okay, you can see, brothers and sisters, these are the 17 different styles in the Quran: instructional, inquisitive, objective, emotional, etc., which we will go through this session and next week's session, inshallah ta'ala. Okay, let's go straight to the issue, and that is the first style, instructional, or also can be called guidance-oriented thinking. Guidance-oriented thinking. Okay, so this is a context, could be identified from the context. It's the commands and the teaching guideline to believe something or to do something or not to do something is the context for this instructional or guidance-oriented thinking. As an example, you can see here, وَاعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ وَلَا تُشْرِكُوا بِهِ شَيْئًا. These are we have the command to do something and another command not to do something. Worship Allah and associate nothing with Him, subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is an example of this instructional and guidance-oriented thinking. You can also apply this and identify easily other examples. Like in this one, these are some more examples shared with you. Aminu billahi wa rasulihi wa anfiqu. Believe in Allah and His Messenger. This is a command. And spend out of that in which He has made you successors. Wa anfiqu mimma ja'alakum mustakhlafina fi. The third ayah is قُلْ تَعَالُوا أَتْلُ عَلَى مَا حَرَّمَ رَبُّكُمْ عَلَيْكُمْ أَلَّا تُشْرِكُوا بِهِ شَيْئًا وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا وَلَا تَقْتُلُوا أَوْلَادَكُمْ مِنْ إِمْلَاقٍ. So this is in Surah Al-An'am. This ayah number 151, and it contains a number of commands to do and not to do. So these are examples for the instructional or guidance-oriented thinking. The second one, brothers and sisters, is inquisitive thinking. This is the inquisitive thinking style. And how do we know the or identify this thinking style? Is through the use of questions and inquiries. Wherever you have an inquiry or a question in the Quran, you can regard that as an inquisitive thinking style. Sometimes the answers are given. Sometimes the answers are very well known to the reciter or reader or listener. Sometimes you need to attend to the question. You need to answer the question. So here you can see also the interaction between the Quran and the reader or the listener of the Quran, where there are questions that we need to answer, okay? Or to admit the answer, okay? Or where the answer is very clear and shared with us. And brothers and sisters, it is so amazing that the Quran includes, or there are 1,250 or more questions in the Quran. Based on the my humble research, there are more than 1,250 questions in the Quran. One more thing that can help us. So as in the context, any question or inquiry in the Quran can be regarded as inquisitive thinking style. Okay? But the second way of identifying, which is more specific to identify the inquisitive thinking style, Al-Qur'an uses what is known as the interrogative particles, Adawatul Istifham, known in Arabic, and these are some or most of what has been mentioned in the Quran. These are about 10 or 11, but actually there are more. Okay, so you can see there, lima, why, limada, why also, amma, about what, iyana, when, ayu, which, mata, again, it's when, aina, where, how, kaifa, which means how, hal, is it, and the most used adatul istifham is al-hamza, the letter hamza, as you maybe see it here. I am pointing my mouse there. Here, the first letter is what this is an example for this inquisitive thinking style. And these are more examples. Alam tara kayfa fa'ala rabbuka bi ashabil fil. Alam. So here you can see the hamza and you can see kayfa. Two adawatul istifham, interrogative particles are used here. In the third ayah also, وَكَيْفَ أَخَافُ. So this is also another. And then in the second line in the same ayah, you can see فَأَيُّ الْفَرِيقَيْنِ. Okay, so these, and I will share with you the PowerPoint, inshallah ta'ala, and you may, inshallah, go through the interpretation of these verses in English. Okay. The third one, brothers and sisters, actually it's objective thinking and counter-objective. That is another thinking style. Objective and counter-objective. Because objectivity, to ensure that we adhere to objectivity, this is even also, by the way, agreed by the Western intellectuals. There are things that we need to adhere to. That's in the first blue square. Okay, like al-ilm, al-bayyinah, al-sultan, al-hujjah, al-haq, al-yaqeen, al-huda, whether it is in a form of a noun or a verb. So the list is given to you. This is the positive side of objective thinking, where we need to adhere to. Okay, al-ilm, knowledge, guidance, al-huda, certainty, al-yaqeen, and others. I tried my best to also translate or interpret those terms that relates to objective thinking. And so like objectivity or objective thinking style in the Quran can be identified in the two sets of terms. The first set of terms is the positive objective thinking, and then we have the counter objective that we need to avoid. So to be objective, you need to adhere to certain what we can call concepts and terms, and at the same time we have to avoid the counter objective thinking. And the counter objective thinking can be known or identified through the terms, the Quranic terms that are listed in the box. So you have al-raib, suspicion, al-shak, doubt, al-hawa, and that is our not to be misled by our desires. Okay, and then also misguidance, al-dalal, wal-zalal, al-ifk, falsehood. Okay, this is the nouns, and we have also the verbs. Sometimes it's a verb, sometimes it's a noun. So the list is there. The ayah which I refer to here, قَدْ تَبَيَّنَ الرُّشْدُ. قَدْ تَبَيَّنَ. Even the word تَبَيَّنَ, okay, the right course has become clear. Clarity in objective thinking, clarity is very important. So the right course has become clear from the wrong. Min al-ghayy. So this is a good example for objective thinking and counter objective thinking. These are more examples that you may refer to later. And again, you can see here like Burhan as an example, which has been mentioned 4 times in the Quran. قُلْ هَاتُوا بُرْهَانَكُمْ. Produce your evidence or proof if what you claim is true. Okay? In the third ayah, فَلَا تَتَّبِعُوا الْهَوَىٰ. So here I hope you can see that we have 2 styles. Here I would like to share with you, brothers and sisters, that a verse, Quranic verse, might include 1, 2, 3, 4, up to 5 thinking styles, different thinking styles. I hope you can see فَلَا تَتَّبِعُوا. So this is instructional thinking that we discussed in the first one. فَلَا تَتَّبِعُوا. Don't follow, don't be misled by al-hawa, which is whims and lusts. Not to be misled by whims and lusts. Okay, the third one, brothers and sisters, the third thinking style is the emotional thinking style. Okay, and this can be identified through antonym of context. Antonym context. We have 6 contexts. 3 for the positive is with the green, the box with the green color, and negative. The negative emotional, because emotions can be either positive or negative. The one in the negative one is in the red color box. So we will have praiseworthy in these 6 contexts, praiseworthy versus blameworthy, reward versus punishment, glad tidings versus warning. These are 6 sub contexts that we can identify, through which we can identify emotional thinking in the Quran. Okay, what I have shared in the bottom there, the Arabic terms and the English interpretation, also these are terms that are related to the emotional thinking. There are so many brothers and sisters, and you can see the list there. There are more than 25 or more terms. The best thing is to use the context and the subcontext for the emotional thinking. The one that the 6 that are shared with you on the top. So this is the easiest way to identify the emotional thinking. Here you can see other verses, Quranic verses related to emotional thinking. The use of emotional. The green one is the positive, and the red one is the negative. Just to make it clear for the reader, and also the interpretation of the verses are given. So you may refer to these examples later for more understanding and practice, inshallah ta'ala. The 5th one is the scientific thinking. And this has to do with scientific facts that has been mentioned in the Quran. The scientific facts that have been mentioned in the Quran. That's what it means. And it can be identified by context of the Quranic verses, these verses those verses that is talking about or mentioning Allah's great signs and creations. Great signs and creations of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the universe. Starting with the creation of the humans. Okay? So the creation of the humans, the creation, as you can see in the image, in the picture, the sun, the clouds, the oceans, the mountains, these are all mentioned in the Quran. Okay, and the first example that I shared with you is that how Allah mentioned. Just imagine 1400 years, 1400 years about the embryo 9 stages, the fetus 9 stages of creation. It's not just the creation, but rather than the 9 stages of creation in the womb of the mothers. And this is given in Surah Az-Zumar as an example. Okay? And this is so great that it is mentioned by the Quran before the X-ray, the ultrasound, and other technology advancement have been lately used to see those different stages of creation. And I remember that Al-Ustaz Al-Shaykh Abdul Majid Al-Zanadani, Hafidhahullah, in one of his lectures, which is available, he presented a paper in a conference in Europe, I believe it was in Britain, where he talked about only those stages of creation. And one of the participants in that conference reverted to Islam because of one fact, mention one stage which is called al-mudghah, the chewed piece of meat, al-mudghah. That scientist, he admitted that they could hardly give a name for that stage, the stage of mudghah. Al-Qur'an call it mudghah 1,400 years ago, more 1,450 years ago, or maybe a little bit more. So where the scientists up till lately, they could identify or to they could identify, but they could not give a name for this stage. So the ayah is shared with you. يخلقكم في بطون أمهاتكم خلقا من بعد خلق في ظلمات ثلاث. In some other ayat, brothers and sisters, those 9 stages are mentioned in a way or another. Okay, the second example given is about storms, winds, and clouds, and the rain that is mentioned in Surah Fatir, by the way. Okay, these are more examples, okay, about the creation, the great creation of Allah, and the scientific facts that are mentioned in the Quran. The next one, number 6, is the reflective thinking style. And this reflective thinking usually is related to scientific, subhanallah. That is based on my humble research and experience. That is, at the beginning, brothers, you can see these are the examples of the scientific thinking style, either at the beginning of the ayah or at the end of the ayah. Either it starts or ends with reflective thinking. So you see here, وَمِن كُلِّ شَيْءٍ خَلَقْنَا زَوْجَيْنِ. That's a scientific fact. لَعَلَّكُمْ تَذَكَّرُونَ. Surah Al-Dhariyat. So لَعَلَّكُمْ تَذَكَّرُونَ, that is usually, it's a question invoking thinking at the beginning of the ayah or at the end of the ayah that talks about the scientific facts. Remember this. Usually they are combined, but however, reflective thinking, by asking a question, invoking thinking, could be also used alone in many other verses of the Quran. Okay. These are more examples here. You may refer to later on. The next two, which is related thinking styles, number 7 and 8, is the metaphorical and analogical thinking. What is metaphorical and analogical thinking? Styles both implies similes and comparison to compare one thing with another. That's in common, they have in common. But once we use the terms, there is one term used for metaphorical, mathalu. You can see it here. I am pointing at, so mathalu, that is for metaphorical. And there are more than 40 or 50 times mentioned in the Quran. For the analogical thinking, which is again a comparison between two things, one thing to another thing, with kaf, harful kaf, or ka'anna also. However, brothers and sisters, there is another type which is related to parables in the Quran, which is indirect, or they call it subtle. So you have also the subtle parables, or you might call it analogies or comparison, similes in the Quran. There is a comparison that is known through the context, and you need a little bit more attention and more experience and knowledge to identify those subtle parables in the Quran. There is one good book about parables in the Quran, which is authored and published by Professor Israr Khan, by the way. It is available. It is, I believe it is published by UIA Press Center. So you may refer to that. These are more examples for you. You can see here, I hope brothers and sisters can know, here, alam tara. That is, I hope you can see, this is an example of reflective thinking. Question, provoking thinking. Alam tara. So it's first inquisitive thinking, and it is a reflective thinking. Also, the term kaifa is another word for questions, asking questions. So here you can see two thinking styles. And the main thing here, Allah says, Alam tara kayfa daraba Allahu matalan. So the matalan here is an example for metaphorical. Matalan kalimatan tayyibatan ka shajaratin. So here it's analogical. And 70% or more in the Quran, metaphorical and analogical are combined, brothers and sisters. Okay, I think I will take one more and stop. So the ninth thinking style is hypothetical thinking. Hypothetical thinking, and that is the use of hypotheses, some of which may be wrong, to prepare the minds. That's the objective, to prepare the minds of the reader and the listener, the reciter, for accepting the truth. It's so amazing, brothers and sisters. Usually it's also combined with inquisitiveness, inquisitive thinking style. Now, so these are hypotheses. In one of the surahs, At-Tur, Allah mentions or uses this hypothetical thinking style 20 times, brothers and sisters. In 3 pages of the Quran, 20 hypotheses. Just imagine, this will also, as I mentioned in another workshop, related to thinking terminologies. Thinking terminologies in the Quran, 40 thinking terminologies to infuse. So with this kind of providing these terms and these thinking skills will be infused in the minds of the reciter or the listener to the Quran. Okay, and this kind of thinking style, the hypothetical thinking, can be identified through context or through the terms. The terms you can see man, أو, am, in, أولو. Even though, and the term if, the relative clause, whether, or, from. Okay, these are the terms. The thing is, you can tell by the context. Don't be confused, because some words or some huruf, they are actually can be what, by the way, can have a different meaning based on the harakat, what is called harakat. You can see the harakat here. Al-Fatha, Al-Dhamma, you know, here you can see As-Sukun. This is what we, and here, alayhi. So here you can see Al-Jar. So some don't be, these are, can be identified if you know if you are very well versed in Arabic, then you can know it. Or otherwise, it's through the translation or the interpretation of the Quranic verses, where you can see the context, where there usually there are questions. These questions pose a hypothesis. Here, brothers, in the example, you can see awalau. What if? Here, awalau means what if. What if أولو كان آباؤهم لا يعقلون شيئا ولا يهتدون. By the way, brothers and sisters, this part, the second part, this is a hypothetical thinking, and it is inquisitive thinking. And if you see at the end, أولو كان آباؤهم لا يعقلون شيئا, it's also ولا يهتدون, it's also reflective. So we have here, we have inquisitive, hypothetical, and reflective in just few words, the second portion of the ayah. If you understand what every thinking style is, then you may be able to identify the thinking style and what it talks about. And brothers and sisters, that is so amazing, where this helped us to practice tadabbur al-Quran, where we have the questions, the reflective thinking. Again, we have the question, hypothesis and hypothetical thinking. Again, the questions are used. Okay, so inquisitiveness. And one of my thinking, my articles on thinking from Islamic perspective is about inquisitive mindset in Islam. The inquisitive mindset. I can share it with you, brothers, those who are interested. Inshallah, I will share with Sister Jaria. You may get a copy of, it's just about, I have 2 articles about inquisitiveness in the Quran and in Islam. It's also in the Hadith. So I can share with you these articles later, inshallah ta'ala. I think I will stop here and open the floor for comments or questions, inshallah.
Thank you, Prof. Thank you for your sharing today, inshallah. So, Prof will have open the floor to the all participants who need to question. Any one of you want to question, you can write in the chat box, or you raise your hand so that I can unmute you. Prof, we have question in the chat box, Prof.
Yes, I have. I think I don't know which one is. Where is the first one? Okay, here. Regarding scientific thinking style, can it be said that Quran is an interpreter for the great book of nature? Yes, true. That is true. That's very true, Brother Nuruddin. That is true. Because why? Because the nature is Kitabullahi al-Mandur, the seen book of Allah, the seen book of creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The Quran, Kitabullahi al-Maqru. So that's true. And number two, question number two, does the Quran also discuss errors in thinking? Yes. I have a workshop that is related to fallacies as discussed by the Quran, by the way. That's one. I have a workshop, fallacies as discussed by the Quran. And the errors are discussed within these thinking styles. You can see, like in the hypothetical, there are good examples for discussing, like the one the last one for hypothetical can be a good one. Also, argumentation. We will have more styles next week, inshallah. So there is the logical thinking or rational thinking in the Quran, where in disputes, it's used in disputes, refuting misunderstandings. This is related to the question, I think also asked by Brother Nuruddin. So dialogues, these by context, the analogical and rational thinking style is used. It discusses these types of errors in thinking. Yes. Thank you, Brother Nuruddin. And the second question, how could shaitan whisper to human leads to various cognitive or spiritual distortion? Very good question, sister. Okay. This is related to perceptual thinking. I have one workshop on perceptual thinking in the Quran. Different one, totally for 1 hour about perceptual thinking. But we will discuss in brief next week, Saturday. We will discuss perceptual thinking. Within the perceptual thinking, also human thinking errors are discussed, by the way, for Brother Nuruddin. And then, but let me attend to the sister question, how the shaitan whisper, insinuate to the humans to change their perception. That's why I said this is related to perceptual thinking style. So Quran is mentions in many ayat, tells us how shaitan can interfere is through our perceptions, by the way, brothers and sisters. And Quran tells us, and in my other workshop, I discuss how can we detect shaitan when the shaitan comes through. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave the shaitan somehow a power to access our perceptions and to insinuate, change, alter our perceptions. That's the thing. If you alter the perception, you can alter the behavior. That's why Allah says, وَقُلْ لِعِبَادِي يَقُولُ الَّتِي هِيَ أَحْسَنُ. This, among friends, among spouses, Allah command us to say the best, what we want to say in the best manner, so that the shaitan will not alter our perception if you use what you call vague term, or somehow if you use a meta language, as they call it in cognitive studies, meta language. One of my best books published in Singapore, Meta Talk, I encourage you to read that book. It's written by a non-Muslim, by the way. So shaitan can interfere and give us a misinterpretation of the other side. Your friend, your spouse, your child, so a misinterpretation. This misinterpretation will change our perception and understanding. That's why conflicts and disputes, this lead to conflicts and disputes. And so that's why there is a great hikmah in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala telling us to be careful, not to be misled by the satanic, by the satanic whispering or insinuation. Okay. Yes, it is more. No, brother, no. Okay, brother Nurdin, let me give an equal chance to other participants. Muslim Osman, how I learn, then explore the various signs in the Quran. There are some good books and research on Tadabbur al-Qur'an. That is one example. There are, if you know Arabic, I can share with you or share it through Sister Jaria. There are good ones, but it's in Arabic. Yes. The next question, wouldn't man, who's included also as interrogative, wouldn't man who is included, okay, what is meant here, yes, if it's a question, then it is who is used for man as well, if I get the question right. Wafa, Sister Wafa. So it's also but what is included here is the interrogative who, the term who. Okay. What precaution, Nawawi, Brother Nawawi, what precaution one should take in thinking to prevent going astray? Very good. Maybe I take this as the last question for today's session. What kind of precaution? There are, I might say that, first of all, Quran, with all its thinking styles, form a good guiding map for our thinking, in order to prevent us from going astray. That is one thing. Okay, that's number one. Number two, as you can see, some of the thinking styles, there are two like in the emotional, like in the objective for today's session. There is the positive and the negative. That's why we have to be aware of the negative side of the thinking style as raised by the Quran. So here, not to be misled, as an example, not to be misled by our emotions, by our feelings, by our whims and lusts. The Quran tells us to avoid, to depend, for making decision, you depend on certainty. You depend on what is clear, what's evident. These all form a guideline to our minds to keep going into the right path and help us to prevent anyone to go from going astray. Yeah, that's I think we have more questions. Please do share. Okay, these are, thank you very much. What do you think about the semantic rhetorical analysis which has been applied to the Quran? Okay, we have to be, I haven't been exposed to this work, but I have been exposed to other writings about semantic and or semantic and rhetorical analysis. Like the best one, this is Akdi Unida. The best one is Al-Ustad, one of the best, Salih As-Samarra'i. He has numerous YouTube sessions available on his YouTube link, okay, or maybe website. So I advise, he's one of the best. Professor Salih As-Samarra'i, he's from Iraq. That's one of the best. Yes. Okay, so I will stop here. I took about 4 minutes or 3 minutes only out of the 15 that was given to me by Datu Jamil. Datu Jamil, thank you. I didn't know that you are still around. Thank you for also being with us. And thank you for allowing me and requesting me to share with you these sessions with your participants. I hope that they will learn, the participants will learn from this session. And I will continue with you from number 10 until 17, Thinking Styles, next Saturday, the coming Saturday at the same time. Thank you. Wabillahi tawfiq wal hidayah. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much, Prof, for your sharing about thinking style in the Quran. I hope all the participants can gain the benefit from you about the thinking style. And also just to share that only we have creative thinking in Quran books, only Prof Jamal Badi that have write this book. If anyone want to read that book, you can refer to IIIT so that you can get the book. Only one the book in creative thinking in Quran.
There is another one, Sister Jaria, and that is Islam, the Spirit of Creativity, also published by IIIT.
Yes, sure. That's book also only book in writing in by Prof that in what they call books that writing about creative thinking and spiritual in Quran. All the books if written by the Western, right, Prof? I hope that all participants can read that book so that can benefit from that. And thank you
I
so
believe
much.
it's available online, right? It's available
Yes, yes.
online. Maybe you share, Sister Jaria, you share the link for the two books with the, so they can get the PDF for that book, two books.
No, we don't have PDF, Prof. We have ebook. We have
ebook.
Yeah,
Okay.
ebook. So if all the participants want to read that book, they have to buy from the ebook.
Okay. Thank you very much. Jazakumullah khair.
Waalaikumsalam jazak, Prof.
Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam. Inshallah, we will see you again in the next session.
Inshallah.
Next Saturday, inshallah. Thank you so much.
Inshallah. Oh, welcome.
So all participants, we have break a little bit. Inshallah, we will come back at 11:15. Inshallah, 11:15.
Thank you very much, Prof. Jamal. Inshallah, see you again next week.
Thank you also, Dato. Inshallah, we will come back at 11:15, Dato. Now we have a little bit break. Dr. Shaaya. Dr. Shaaya already in, but inshallah, Doctor, we will have a little bit delay. We will start with you in the 11:15, yeah, Doctor?
Yes, Assalamualaikum. Is it hear me?
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullah. Yeah, I hear you.
Okay, then I'll check it out. I'll meet you 11:15, yes?
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
You see me? Assalamualaikum, Dato'.
Welcome, Dr. Shaaya.
Assalamualaikum. You hear me?
Salam.
Oh, how are you?
Okay, alhamdulillah.
You look handsome today with your new haircuts.
Thank you, thank you.
Well, I look horrible with having my haircut today.
Assalamualaikum, Dokter. Dr. Shaaya.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning. Oh, good. Good morning, ya, Dokter.
I think you have a lot of rest now. Yes. Okay.
Doctor, just first try to share screen first, Doctor.
Yeah, I start now.
Yeah, but just try to share screen first.
Okay, I will try to share my slide. That is on my slide. Okay. Share. Yes. Okay. Then I'll cover it.
Yeah.
Is it okay now? It can be seen? Oh.
Yeah, see, but then can be full screen?
Put on the full screen, yeah?
Yes, yes.
Can I put full screen on the? I just
Yes.
press okay.
Okay, now appear. Okay, before we start our class, let me a bit introduce about Doctor,
Sure.
his biodata. Okay, to all participants, this is Dr. Shaaya Othman. He started his degree. He started his study at Demara International Technology, Malaysia, currently in IITM, in Professional Statistics, AIS 1 and 2, and later continue in the same file, AIS 3, Royal Statistics Society, London. At the University of City, Westminster, London, he also graduated with MBA distinction in the field of strategic management from the University of Cali, Staffordshire, England. Finally, he completed his PhD at Sultan Abdul Halim Muazzam Shah International University, known as UNISHAM. The scope of PhD research covered the application of Maqasid al-Sharia in strategic management. He has extensive experience in the private and government sector, as well as academic field, both domestically and internationally. In the private sector, he has held several senior positions, including Senior General Manager at Hong Leong Group, Malaysia, from 1994 to 1997. Chief Executive Officer, CEO of the Asia Pacific region, Chapa Group, Turkey, from 1997 to 2002. Albania, Malaysia Cooperation, Tirana, Albania in 2003. CAO Asia Pacific Intergo Environmental Technology, Australia, from 2016 to 2018. Prior to his private career, he served a senior government officer, Deputy Director General, Malaysia Fisheries Development Authority, formerly the chairman of the Technical Advisor Council of Infofis Regional Intergovernmental Agency of the United Nations in 1989. In academic file, currently he is a senior academic fellow at the International Institute of Islamic Thought, known as IIIT USA, and regional office East and Southeast Asia in Kuala Lumpur. And also EXCO member, Madinah International University, Malaysia. Previously, he has served as a senior lecturer and director of the Center Excellent at the Selangor International Islamic University College, known as QUIS, in 2009 to 2010. Academic fellow and associate professor in Insania in 2011-2012, and as adjunct professor at Europa International Islamic University in Istanbul campus. All that is his expert profile. MashaAllah. Now we want to hear from his lecture for today. فليتفضل مأجورة دكتور.
Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala asyrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajmain. And I would like to appreciate IIIT, particularly Professor Dr. Jamal Osman, inviting me to share my knowledge with all of you regarding the special topics. Today is Al-Qur'an and Management. Do you hear me? Okay. This lectures will be divided into two parts. That is operational understanding of Al-Qur'an, Sharia and Management. Perhaps we understand what is Al-Qur'an, Sharia and Management, but I'm looking into the aspects of application of Al-Qur'an, Sharia and Management in all human activities. And the next week, on part 2, we try to look into how Sharia could be integrated and transform the conventional management into Islamic management. We looked into the theoretical part of it. Since I was many years in profession in the world of industry, perhaps we could look into how Islamic management could be applied in many areas. I'm involved in environment, business, as well as in hospitality industry, how that could be transform this industry into Islamic economy. That is the second part of the lectures. So it is first part, 45 minutes, yeah? Okay, 45 minutes. So perhaps with these 45 minutes, I try to divide this time into three parts. One is regarding Al-Qur'an as a guardian and mother of knowledge in all human activities. We try to discuss together. And the second part, another 15 minutes, we try to talk about Sharia. Well, everybody knows about Sharia, but we try to look into the operational aspect of Sharia, the scope of implementation in all human activities. We try to map out the operational aspect of Sharia in all human activities together within 15 minutes. We're not going to give lectures, but we try to discuss and to see how we could coin out the network of Sharia in terms of operational aspect. And next 15 minutes, perhaps we'll try to work out, to understand management. Many management is defined as, philosophical, but I've tried to look into management as a work process in all human activities. When we talk of management as work process, that means we're able to apply management in ourselves, our family, our society, our nation, in all aspects. I mean to say, not only in terms of managing our family, but managing our finance, managing our asset and so on. So I'm looking into the application of management. Okay, now let's look into this Quran. I think everybody knows in the Quran. Everybody been discussing this Quranic lesson for the past few weeks, I think. But let us define, because we have been reading Quran many times, perhaps we overlook certain important verses that we should implement it, or we should transform it into action, certain verses, okay? And then we understand that Quran is a mother of all knowledge, and Islam is a complete way of life, deen for all mankind. So these three aspects, we need to understand the basic application of it. I'm not talking about the philosophical. I'm trying to look into the application of it. Okay, what is Quran? When we talk about Quran, well, everybody knows about it. When we pray, every daily prayers, we ask for Ihdinas Siratal Mustaqim. Please guide us to the right paths. And Allah had answered it in the next Surah Al-Baqarah, Baqarah 2, verses 2. ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ هُدًى لِلْمُتَّقِينَ. This is the book. It is the guidance sure will adopt to those who fear Allah. We fear Allah. We pray 5 times a day. But we can see that, I can see, or I observe that in many areas of application of Al-Quran is not being transformed into action. Action in our family, action in all our activities, and all other parts of our life. Yes, it is very important to look at it. For example, very simple example, the application in terms of finance, in terms of developing a family, human resource organization, even the guidance to develop or manage our country or the world itself, or our company in a short form, if you are a manager. So we normally overlook. We only focus on aspects of worshipping. We'll focus on munakahat, family's loss, but the application of other areas such as economy, commerce, siyasa, that means political system, and also management is not given emphasis. Perhaps the one which we could see is the financial aspect is given the emphasis, alhamdulillah. Yeah, but the other major aspect need to look into it. Okay, we look at the days of COVID. I just quote a few of these verses. Everybody knows, because we bring every day talking about Zalikal Kitab la Rayba Fil Muttaqin. Every day in Surah Sajdah, every Friday, we always say that Zalikal Kitab la Rayba Fihi min Rabbil Alameen. And every time we talk about Quran and Hakim, there are many other verses we talk about. Quran is full of hikmah, rules and regulations. Every time Allah reminds us about importance of Al-Quran to be translated into action, all those verses, just like we translate the verses of Islam, what I call that, riba is haram, we have translated into Islamic management system, we have created Islamic finance, Islamic bond, Islamic insurance, Islamic accounting, Islamic investment tool, and so on. This is just one aspect of it. Okay, the other aspect is talk about Islam as a mother of all knowledge. Yes, we are being, I don't know, in my area of in the application aspect of it, when we do PhD or we do a master's, I don't know whether we advise our students to look first into Al-Quran, because Al-Quran is the mother of all knowledge. You see, just look at the other areas. There's a book review, for example, where we study or do PhD. We are supposed to do literature review. Have we make Al-Quran as a first literature review to look into the detail of Al-Quran? What area of Al-Quran need to be translated into action or yet to be translated to action? Many areas, many verses in the Quran yet to be explored, to be translated into action. But many not being. When I did my PhD, nobody advised me to look into the Sharia. Even somebody asked me, why Sharia? We look at the Sharia. You are specialized in statistics and business. Why you must learn Sharia? It's very complicated. Please do something easy for me to supervise you. I was advised to do that, but I said no. I'm not. I'm right. I am studying not to get that what do you call it, a post, but I want to get knowledge. That's why I need to know Sharia. So we must study the what do you call the Quran first, mother of all knowledge. Then only we able to look in detail what are the problem areas, what are the areas need to be implemented, and so on. This is what I say, that mothers, Quran is mothers of all knowledge. If you are professors, or you are supervisors, if you are managers, or you are leaders, please look into Al-Qur'an first and how Al-Qur'an could be translated into action in all our human activities in this world. Yes, we can see that every aspect of life, you see, when you look at the Quran, you see, there's 6 verses here in the Quran. There are 350 verses relating to laws and regulation need to be implemented into action, not only in what do you call it, financial interest free, which we have done well, but other areas, of course. There are also muamalat areas, 70 verses related to muamalah, need to be implemented in detail, refinements, and what are other areas need to be further developed, and so on. What sort of Islamic court need to be extended in laws and regulation relating to it. How Islamic court is being established now could be superseded the civil court. This is all action plan need to be done. And also we look at muamalat, for example. Yeah, muamalat. That's so there not only financial aspect. There are so many aspects of muamalah need to be here. For example, yeah, development of Islamic economy, developments of Islamic tourism, development of Islamic products, halal, Islamic of consumer, pharmacists, medicine, halal medicine, all many areas in these areas need to be developed and enhanced. For example, Islamic finance need to be enhanced. Islamic medicine of other areas, cosmetic, need to be introduced further or developed further. And there are other laws and regulations here. So the Quran itself, you can see that 350 is consisting of laws and regulations to be implemented and to do research and to create or to refine further what we have done. So there are mothers of all knowledge here. Well, this we understand that mothers of all knowledge here. So now we can see that we have covered this aspect. We have covered that Quran, reveal knowledge, human activities, the mother of all knowledge, and it is complete way of life, yes, for all mankind. There's the verses here, complete way of life. I can't say where I put it here, but anyway, there's a verse that said that I have chosen, what do you call that? Surah, if you remember Surah, that I have completed favor upon you and choose you Islam as a complete way of life. You see, I remember the Surah Ma'idah, I think, yes. So these are the areas of we have covered. Okay, now let's go to Sharia. We covered 15 minutes, I think. Now Sharia. Sharia, I look at it, yeah. We're going to look at meaning of Sharia. Meaning of Sharia. We must understand this. And meaning, the source of Sharia, the categories of Sharia, the objective of Sharia, this maqasid al-Sharia. How we look at this, how this interfacing each other. Here we define it in the words, but I'm trying to transform this into a network, or rather operational process in which we could easily see or we could easily develop in our whatever we do. Okay, look at this. This is my favorite charts, or I call it operational chart of understanding Sharia. I would like to share with you, because looking at this chart, we can see the relationship with all this and how we could develop further. This is a complete understanding of Sharia. When I read Sharia book, I try to figure out, there's so many areas of Sharia, how to capsulize it so that in our mind, we can look at it, then we can develop further. We can understand how Sharia interfacing each other, and then we're able to apply it. So let us look how it is. This is based on several books on Sharia, Maqasid al-Sharia, Kiddig al-Sharia, fiqh, and so on, which I've read and tried to interface it like an operational model we could put in our mind and we could apply it. When we talk Sharia, it's very definition. What is Sharia? People ask. Sharia is the commandments of Allah in all human activities. Very simple. Or in the short form, Islamic law, Islamic regulation, a definition. And where is the source? The source is Quran, as you mentioned earlier, the Quran and the Sunnah, as well as the ijtima of the councils of the scholars. If there's no detailed application in the Quran and Sunnah, we have to develop it, and then it has to be agreed upon by the councils of the scholars, so that it should not be contradicting with the Quran as well as the practices of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. So these are the source. And then we ask ourselves, what are all human activities? When we talk about human activities, you can see I categorize into 3 components and several subcomponents. The first component is Sharia is aqidah, is a belief, or aqidah, or belief. Aqidah, that means our faith, belief in aqidah, belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, believe in the Prophet, believe in the Quran, believe in Injil, believe in the hereafter, and so on. Believe in the destiny by Allah. So these are aqidah. We have to believe as believers. And what is ethics? You can see an ethics. Ethics, you can see there are. Islam has the ethic, code of ethics, human life. Code of ethics, how we dress up, man, woman, how we mix up in society. Code of ethics, how we treat among ourselves. Code of ethics, how we interrelated with relationship with a non-Muslim. Code of ethics, how we manage the resources. Code of ethics, how we manage the world. These are the code of ethics. You see, Muslims have a certain code of ethics, and this code of ethics is derived from Quran and Sunnah. There are many code of ethics need to be developed, further enhanced. So Islam itself, then we're talking about fiqh. Yeah, there are fiqh laws and regulation. Fiqh laws and regulation, which is covered worship or rules of worship, that mean ibadat, munakahat, that we always talk of these two, is very detailed. We're discussing in the mosque. I attended many lectures in the mosque. Every 5th in the mosque, there are lectures on this only, but not much talking on this aspect. Muamalah, commercial laws. This is part of Islam, commercial laws. And then we're not talking about the siyasa. We have political, we cannot run a politics, but we can talk about it. How politics in Islam could enhance, could add values to the political system in our country to make it much better, value add. We talk about the positive elements, you see, in top of political law, siyasa, and talk of the national law, dawla, fiqh dawla. See, dawla, like many scholars have written it, but we have to translate it into action. That is, we must look into the positive. We should convince the people that this fiqh dawla is add values to the existing system to make it better and for all mankind. Rahmatul Alamin. So the other one is, of course, the criminal laws. When we talk about criminal laws, yes, we are talking about cutting of hand, all this sort of thing. The criminal laws is total element of criminology in the society. The prevention, what is the preventive action? What is the action to be taken? What sort of, what do you call that, enhancement to the society? This is how to stop criminals, what do you call it, criminals being engaged, destroying society. These are criminal laws, and criminal laws not existed, not man only for the society, but it covers criminal laws in case of war. You see now it's lawless. When there's a war, there's lawless. Everybody killing each other without being taken into being trial. You can see that happen in First World War, Second World War, what's like that of Europe, what about killing in Japan, with Hiroshima, Nagasaki, with millions of people, assets being destroyed, have been put into trial? No. So there is need of international criminal laws. It is covered that. It is okay in the sense that it is not being implemented, but it is there. We coin it in the sense that the structure is there, and it just matter implementing it if the time comes. But in this case, I don't think much having structured in a way in criminal law. So these are, we can see, Sharia itself. Well, you may ask me, what are these Sharia? What is it meant for actually for humankind? What is it meant for? That is, Allah has this, scholars, Imam Ghazali has, and other scholars have structured or coined out that the ultimate objective of Islam, that means Maqasid al-Sharia, these 5 elements of Maqasid al-Sharia has been discussed. The whole system of this management, all fiqh and so on, relating reason is basically to protect religion. So our religion is being protected. And then the protection of life, protection of mind, of man, intellect need to be protected. And our spring have to be protected. And the wealth and resources have to be protected. These are the basically objective of Sharia. Whatever regulation we make, whatever management objective we make, whatever management objective of the nation we have to do, ultimately, we have to achieve this ultimate objective of Sharia. Ultimate objective of Sharia is the strategic objective, long-term objective to be achieved not only in this world, but hereafter. That is the beauty of Islam. It adds values to everything. So here, brothers and sisters, we have this, we look at this, there are so many areas of management we need to manage. You can see here, yeah, these are highlighted. There are many areas of research to be made. Remember that the literature review is the Quran. Whatever research want to proceed, whatever research, whatever management technique we need to implement or to create or to structure, you have to refer the Quran and Sunnah with the ultimate objective of this. You see, these are the management of the Sharia. This is the objective. These are the reference. So, brothers, we have covered that. Just to recall, I'm sure you know about it, that Quran and Sunnah, we will not, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam narrated by the Imams, what do you call it? I can't remember, the Imam Malik, I think, yeah, that we will never get wrong as long as we follow the Quran and Sunnah. The world today in catastrophe, in grave catastrophe, because we are not following the Quran, which is direct from Allah, we are not following the Sunnah. You see? We sometimes the dichotomy of knowledge, even in university and research, we are not giving emphasis of putting Quran and Sunnah into the real life, as we mentioned earlier, like this. In this area, muamala, siyasa, dawla, and criminology. Many research need to be done, you see, in management of it, not only in terms of creating the rules and regulation, but managing the rules and regulation by the authority. I mean, by ourselves, our leaders, our nation. Yeah. So, you see, these two verses really attracted me very well. You see, And you can see that many people say, well, you need some expertise to really interpret the Quran. But Allah says in this book, there are basic foundation which is very clear. Yeah, certain element very clear. Surah Imran. But there are certain verses which is illogical. Let the expertise. But the clear cut need to be done or translated into action. For example, financial words of haram, that interest haram. We don't need to discuss on what we have to implement it. Discussion is how to implement these verses into reality. How the financial bank, Islamic banking is to be created and refined. How Islamic insurance need to be created. How Islamic bond need to be created. How Islamic investment in Bursa need to be structured in order to follow the Quran. These are basic fundamental rules we can find in the Quran. And Allah challenged us. Why we need a Jahiliyyah laws? They asked us, why we need Jahiliyyah laws in this Ma'idah 550? Can these people formulate better laws than Allah? Think it over. When all those criminologist law, all this commercial law, not interest, all this sort of laws being created by conventional, by Jahiliyyah's laws, is this there are better laws than Allah have put it into the Quran? Think it over it. Allah challenges it to us, all of it. And of course, do not forget the advice, do not forget ourselves to look into the Quran first as a mother of book to what do you call it? Translate any action or develop any laws. Do not forget our subordinate before giving directive to create rules and regulation. Please refer to the Quran first. See what are the principles and laws that we translate into our company, our nation, and so on. Okay. Of course, this is, well, I will not discuss, just give a brief on this, that those laws we mentioned in the Quran is not a theory. Many people say it's theoretical, many people talk philosophical. No, it is principle, wisdom, laws and regulations which have been practiced by Prophet Muhammad. That is a sunnah. And Prophet Muhammad is our role model to follow. Study the role model of Muhammad. You want to be the best leaders of the nation, why not take Rasulullah as a role model? You see? They don't take Rasulullah as role model, they look at others like as a role model. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, whatever he said, whatever he did is being recorded in hundreds of volumes. Look at that. As a role model Allah has given to practice what is being listed on the principal rules in the Quran. Okay, now we have covered just the second part. Now we are talking about management parts of it. Okay. In this management, any question, or should we stop? It's 2 minutes. Brothers, sisters, you may be bored to listen to me. Any questions, brothers, sisters? Just 1 minute.
They are all muted.
Sorry?
They are all muted. You proceed. We will get the question answers later.
Yes, I have your permission to have a cup of drink to sleep on my throat. Okay, excuse me. Okay, thank you, brothers and sisters. Now we are talking of the function within the 15 minutes, I think. We are talking about management. Management is very, very important and very, very easy to understand, but not being practiced in order. We don't manage our family, we don't manage our community, we don't manage our company, we don't manage our country according with the principle of Qur'an and Sunnah. Actually, it's a very basic. Management is a function. I'm talking of the work process. We understand this management function and what we're managing, and understand the principle of Sharia management, we are safe. For example, understand management as a function of thinking, planning, organizing, leading, and controlling. Ask ourselves, how much of this basic principle we are applying to our own family? How much thinking we do to develop our family? How much planning we do for our family? How much time we organizing our family? How we leading our family, and how we control our family? You see? This is basic. I'll talk about basic family unit, or this basic can be applied to organization, could be applied to the nation, and so on. So when we are second parts of it in this aspect, we're talking about managing resources. We ask me, what are we going to manage actually? It's very simple. Managing, relating to resources. Resources mean finance. Finance or resources, money, resources. We have to manage our money as a family, how we spend it, how we to spend for our education, our children's education, how we to spend and save for our later life, for family life. And secondly, human. Human means our family, our children, our wife, and our relation. You're not talking about family unit, but it's the same as organization. It's the same as a nation. And we're talking of managing time. Time is very important. We lost time, we lost everything. You see, if we don't lose our time, our children start growing. We cannot reverse our children's time into the infant when they are going to adult. Same thing with the nation. Same thing with the human resources. Same thing with the what do you call it? With the people we manage in the country. And of course, information is very important. If without information, we cannot manage our family properly. We don't keep properly organization and so on. That is, Allah says, if we have proper information here, technically we can plan in the future. We can protect our country, our families, and also we can have good information. We are not being accusation, fitna, giving wrong information and so on. Asset, we have our house, we have our land, we have everything to manage. Same thing, the same in the country. So these are the basic managing resources. Management function, thinking, planning, organizing, is managing all these resources. It's very important. Okay, so these are the management process. Okay, Sharia management and integration of Sharia with management. That means Sharia management, give you just capsulize this management is this activities is of managing the resources. Sharia principle, as said in the Quran and the Sunnah, add values to your management, add values to management process. It become better. You see, we will discuss that next week. How management Sharia is better than conventional management. Okay, now let us go into detail what is management. You see, what is management actually? Management, as I mentioned, is a work process. Work process of thinking, planning. If you look at the book, there's nothing about thinking here, nothing. This is the element of process which I put it in my elements, because in my real experience, not much thinking has been done if we plan, organizing, leading. Thinking means what? Think tank. Think. Get information. If we are in organization, we organize a think tank team for this reason. It's a part of the function of management, of managers. Why thinking? If you look at the Quran, in many areas, Allah said, "Afala tatafakkarun." Why don't you use your brain to think? "Afala ta'khilun." These are many verses in the Quran. Even Surah Yasin we've read. So think first. Allah described everything. You must think. There's a verses which I can remember now. They say that those who don't think are worse than creatures being created by Allah in the eyes of Allah. You see, we are the worst because we have the brain to think. So why thinking is important for element here? I put here thinking to produce ideas. We produce ideas to set direction and planning. What is our direction? We talk of direction just now. The ultimate direction is to achieve maqasid al-sharia. You see, whatever we do, protection of religion, protection of our life, protection of our intellect, protection of offspring, and protection of wealth and resources. These are the overriding strategy of planning. Planning, there are two. That is strategic planning. I'm not going to give lectures here because it's not a class of management. We just give ideas. Planning is tactical planning, which is very to achieve the strategic planning. Strategic planning is meant for long-term ultimate objective of Sharia. And produce ideas to set structure organizing. When we do the thinking among our families or organization or the nation, we're going to set a structure, how manpower, how we're going to organize our family, how we're going to organize our company, how we're going to organize our countries, set up a structure, and then the manpower structure as well, so to achieve what we plan. And after setting this, we are looking into leading. We have to lead this human structure or manpower to inspire them and so on. And after that, we control. We have to control. If we don't control, then you're going to have hazard. That's why without controlling, we are blaming other. Well, there are corruption, there are mismanagement. Basically, as a leader, I think if I'm a leader, I should be responsible of not creating a proper control system of what I plan. I don't plan properly. I don't organize properly. I don't lead properly. This is a process. If we do the process of this, we are not blaming others. We are not accusing others, but we are rather looking at ourselves to improve ourselves. It's a very, very important element of this. Whatever, you are managers, you are a company, you are the leaders of the nation, you are the father of your family. Don't blame others, but blame yourself as a leader of the family, as a father, as a manager of organization, as leaders of the country, for not doing much thinking and planning, organizing, leading, and control. It's a very basic process, actually. We look at it, very basic process. You know? I remember when we talk of corruption, I was telling very simple control. Look at the best country in the world which is less corrupted. That is Finland. They have regulation laid out, structured, and it's being structured and be published by the European Union. But we don't follow. We don't look at it also. When I say try to look at it, that's different. No, we're looking into how they structure the whole thing, how they plan. We're not looking into the principle. We're talking about the structure they're doing it. That's important. Okay. So what we have said now, I think 5 minutes more. I started 45 minutes ago. So perhaps others give it 1 hour, but I give you 5-10 minutes. So here we can look. What we are trying to see just now here, management, as we mentioned earlier, what? Management resources, human, finance, money, time, information, and asset. These are the resources of a family, resources of our organization, resources of our community, resources of our nation need to be planned. You see, need to be managed, need to be organized, need to lead and controlling. So simple, yeah? So just to capsulize, to summarize, easy for you to remember, 5 fingers on your right is a management function. 5 fingers in your left is the resources. 5 means to say what? Thinking of how we're going to manage the finance. Thinking how we're going to manage the resources, the human manpower or family, time, and what you call information and set. So the example just now, management, 5 resources combined together. This is what this management is about. Management function to manage the resources. Very simple, you see. You can see now, let us look at, before we end on the 5 minutes. When we talk of Islamic management, we're not thinking, we add values to management. Okay. We integrate the elements of Sharia, that's how we're saying, into management. Okay? Because we're going to manage resources. All these elements, as I mentioned to you, you look at it properly, the important element is here. The reference for planning and organizing is from the Qur'an and Sunnah. What you're going to manage, if you are managers of a bank or managers of a business, you're looking into fiqh muamalah and how to expand it further, you refer back to the Qur'an and Sunnah. And if there are other areas, for example, criminologies, for example, siyasa or political system yet to be developed, and you look into this to be developed. And what is the objective? Remember, your corporate objective, strategic objective, ultimate objective is maqasid al-sharia. Other objective is tactical strategy. Remember that tactical strategy is to achieve the ultimate objective. Don't forget, in anything you do as a manager, as a leaders of the nation, as a leaders of the of your community, put maqasid al-sharia as the ultimate objective. That is the long-term overriding objective. And the rest of what I call action planning is tactical objective to achieve. So very important. Okay, you can see here. Just now we integrate the two. We have transformed all the activities of management into Sharia thinking, Sharia planning, Sharia organizing, Sharia leading, and Sharia controlling. So it's very simple. So all this Sharia basically based on the principle of Quran and Sunnah in all human management, all human activities. It's very simple, isn't it? Yeah.
Doctor?
Yes.
Yeah, we have passed the time.
Okay, I have another 5 minutes to finish it up. I'm at the end of it. Just give me 5 minutes, okay? So here. So as mentioned here just now, just giving a pictorial pictures for you to easy to understand the 5, here 5, activities of management. These are the resources we're going to manage, you see? You see, this metric easy for us to understand. And the objective highlighted here, this is the protections of human existence, protection of religion, protection of human generation, protection of human intellect, resources. If those people who understand the third, we look at this, it's written in written form, but to me, it's very, some people able to understand it. I understand. I put it for people who like to read rather than to see the chart. You see, Islamic management is defined as integrated activities of thinking, planning, organizing, leading, and controlling, interconnected with decision involving the use of resources, human, financial, time, information, and physical asset with the objective of attaining maqasid al-sharia by means of effective action. These are my definitions of Islamic management. Okay, I go back just 2 minutes more. You see, many people interpret this surah, Surah Al-Imran, verses 54. They plan, we plan, but Allah plan. Allah is the best planner. What it really meant is that Allah is the best planner. Allah has given us Quran, principle, wisdom, principle of planning, and also, and the Sunnah of Rasulullah. Why not follow all this? Yeah, if we're going to plan anything, we make sure that the principle, take Allah planning principle and procedure as mentioned in Quran Sunnah too. Don't forget that. Okay, now just a summary. Just now you have reminded me just to make a summary. Now we understand all respect Al-Qur'an as guardian and acknowledge human activities, commandments of all human activities, work for us as human activities that we have to stand for you. And also, the next step is, of course, knowledge. You have this. Sayyidina Abu Bakr said, without knowledge, action is useless. And knowledge without action is futile. If we have everything knowledge in our head, but we don't transform it into action, it's futile. It's useless, isn't it? So knowledge, what we have heard today, here today, as mentioned, in a very simple way that you can apply to your family, you can apply to your nation general manager, you can apply to the nation if you are the leaders of the nation. Okay. Next week, I will talk about integration of knowledge, as being advocated by many. There are areas of to talk next week. Okay, we're talking how we can do next week and how this Quran and Sunnah create a new dimension of Islamic economy and how we can save the world. Next week, we'll talk about it. Okay. So the time is exceeding 5 minutes. Okay, thank you very much for listening to my lectures that I could share with you. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you so much, Doctor, for wonderful sharing today.
Thank you, Dr. Thank you.
Inshallah, we will see you again in the next class, Doctor, on the same day, Saturday, inshallah.
Okay, we'll meet again next week, right? Any questions?
Yes.
See you again next week.
Yes, you can keep.
There is question in the chat box, Prof, but then the time we doesn't go to present because Dr. Yusuf Othman already waiting for his lectures. Inshallah, we will.
We'll answer by
next class, inshallah.
Next week, inshallah.
Okay, inshallah. Okay, assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Prof Muhammad Yusuf Osman.
Yes, I'm speaking now.
Yeah. Assalamualaikum, Prof.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Yeah.
Salam.
So, would you have slide, Prof?
Yes, I have slide with me.
Okay.
Can I upload myself?
Yeah, Dr. Shaaya. Let Dr. Shaaya add his slide first.
I try to.
Yeah, can you remove your slide?
Out. Okay. Is it okay now? I'm not sure whether it is out. My
You have
slide.
to leave first.
Yeah. How did you go about it?
And show, Prof, and show.
Yeah.
You put on the cross on the top.
Because I don't get my what you call here.
You put cross on top right.
Oh yeah, put here. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Nice. Okay. Prof, can you try to share your slide first?
Okay, thank you. Okay, can you see it?
Yeah, now appear. Okay, put full screen, Prof.
Full screen, yeah.
Yes, now it's it. Okay, before we start our class with Prof, now I want to introduce a bit about his biodata. Okay, this is Professor Dr. Dr. Muhammad Yusuf Haji Othman. He is a Professor Emeritus at University Kebangsaan Malaysia, member of Board of Director Institute of Islamic Understanding, IKIM, signed 2019, and founding Vice Chairman, Hadari Global Network, Science 2018. He is also a former professor in the Physics program, University Kebangsaan Malaysia, UKM, from 1994 to 2019. And he He was entrusted a head department of physics from 1990 to 1994. And he is also Deputy Dean Faculty of Science and Technology from 1994 to 2002, sorry. He is also Director Center for Research and Innovation Management in UKM from 2002 to 2007. And he also founding Director and Principal Fellow Institute of Islamic Hadari from July 2007 to October 2018 at the university. He obtained a Bachelor of Science Physics in 1976 from UKM, and Master of Science Solid State Physics from University of London in 1977, and he received his PhD of Solar Energy from University of Aston, UK, from in 1984. In UKM, he has received an Outstanding Service Award in 1990, 1993, and 2014. The Outstanding Teaching Award in 1990 and 1997. A Special Creativity Award, Innovation Art in 1997, and Community Service Award, Academic Member in 1998. Special Quality Publication Award in the category Scientific Book in 2003. Most prestigious and Gold Medalist Award and National and International Prestigious Award in 2005. Research Award winner in 2011 and 2012. Publication Award and in the category of book and monograph, Science Technology in Medicine cluster in 2014, and Special Award Bitara Mutiara Insan in UKM evaluation in 2018. And there's a lot of his biodata, good biodata more, but that's all I will read on his biodata, his expert profile, because we have passed the time a lot. So without further ado, we are invited Prof to deliver his speech. فليتفضل مأجورة دكتور.
أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much, Madam Moderator, for very lengthy introduction. The Emeritus Professor Dr. Jamal Osman. Thank you very much for inviting me to be part of this team to so that I can extend my knowledge on my very interested topic on science and Islam. Okay, the time is not permitted to me to, so my content of this lecture, I have 5 topics actually, 5 items that I want to discuss in the lecture. First, who is the one who are responsible to establish science and technology? The answer is man. And we must discuss a little bit who is this man, because I don't believe that the man from Western perspective, the man from Charles Darwin or evolutionary theory can satisfy at least my mind where we can establish science and technology. And number 2, man also, based on this science and technology, we also establish civilization. So a little bit, I will touch on this brief history of civilization from Greece civilization up to, if possible, during the Islam, and a little bit about the Western civilization. But the time is not with us, so I will just briefly show you with a lot of photos and a lot of pictures, so that by looking at this, you can see the past civilization. Also, the civilization cannot be established without science and technology. We must also discuss a little bit about this history of science and technology, because so far as I know, during my studying in Malaysia since the beginning of the earlier of my age, I was told that the science and technology was established by the Western people. The name like Copernicus, Galileo Galilei, Einstein, Newton, and so on is frequently mentioned about this, about science and technology, but they never mentioned about the name such as Al-Khwarizmi, Al-Biruni, Ibn Sina, Al-Farabi, and so on. So in that, because of that, I would like to share with you a brief history of science and technology in the past, and what is their contribution, just briefly, because my topic, interested to me, is the science and Al-Qur'an and science. And number four, we must also understand what is science understood by the scientists of today. The secular scientists, because they have their own perception of science. And why Muslims keep on talking about Islamic science? In the old days, we're talking about integration of knowledge, and then we were talking about Islamic science. And some of the scholars mentioned a lot of many times in my experience, that they say, you're talking about Islamic science. Is there any un-Islamic science? Because when we have Islam, we have kufur, we have iman, and similarly we have Islamic science, and also we have un-Islamic science. Can you show to me what is un-Islamic science? So because of that, we introduced Tawhidic science. This was introduced by my university, by our group, when we proposed research on try to study how to integrate the science and the Islam, which happened in the past. If you read about Jabir bin Hayyan, the story, the Al-Qur'an and Hadith inspired them in order to develop science and technology. Islam itself gives a lot of inspiration to them, so that they can develop this science and technology. So with that in mind, I tried to deliver this lecture entrusted to me by Professor Jamal Othman, and he said that Al-Qur'an and science, but I put in bracket physical sciences, because I know more on physical sciences, not biological sciences. Okay, go back to our topic. Who is man? Who is this human being? So briefly, just one slide. According to Western scholars, human beings were created from the evolutionary process. So this is what Charles Darwin mentioned, and it's very popular until today. People mention about this, and some of scholars quote from him about who this human being. So we are, according to him, we are the same species as the ape, and our product is from natural selection, which happen to be about, according to him, it take about 2,000 years in order to become a modern man. From apes to become a modern man today, he said it took about 200,000 years. But from genetic studies, which I just briefly, try to look at it from the scientific point of view, they said that human exists around about 60,000 years ago. So this statement also contradicts. If we just, it's our species about 60,000 years ago, So what about the older generation? And I was made to understand before this we have another age, what they call it Ice Age. During the Ice Age, there was no human being. You look at this comic film about the Ice Age. There is no human being at that time. Okay, then this theory has been proven to be weak and unacceptable. A lot of discussion about this. It's considered, but it is still considered as a mainstream. In Malaysia, in particular, this subject is taught at the university level as well as school level. And then the main weakness is simple, because people say that the theory of Darwin doesn't describe who am I, who we are, actually. Who am I? So this only explained from Islamic point of view. And still open-ended, we can discuss who we are. But lately we found out there is a child who summoned his father and mother because he said, I don't want to exist in this world. But why because you are the one, because of both of you, I'm here right now. But unfortunately, I'm very unlucky living in this world. So he tried to summon, to the court disabilitely. So they don't know who they are. So there was a French philosopher mentioned about this, and also mathematician called, this is a very famous philosopher, René Descartes, in French philosopher, who said that, I think, therefore am I. Still the question does not answer who am I, because he thinks that he is able to think, then there he is. If he cannot think about something, therefore that thing is nothing to him. So it's something like that. But still, this is very provocative question, and this is not answered clearly. Then I try to explain to you briefly who is man from Islamic perspective. So according to Muslim scholars, according to the Al-Qur'an mentioned clearly, we are not the creatures who are created in this world. So our first, Adam and Eve, they live in Jannah, in heaven. So, and we are special creatures, not other creatures. We are the only creatures who are entrusted by God to be His Caliph, His vicegerent, to be the manager, to be the creature who can manage this world. Not even angel, not even devil, not even malaika, or not even iblis. So man is a special creature according to Islam. So we are the creatures originated specially, created by God in heaven, with the same type, we're in heaven with His Spirit. So Prophet Adam and also his wife Eve. It is true that Adam made a mistake, because he approached these particular trees according to this ayat, but their sin has been forgotten by Allah SWT. They are clean. So Allah don't send any other people in order to sacrifice for them, because their sin has been forgiven by God. But then in the Quran also, Allah mentioned about وَإِذْ قَالَ رَبُّكَ لِلْمَلَائِكَةِ إِنِّي جَاعِلٌ فِي الْأَرْضِ خَلِيفَةً. This Al-Baqarah Surah Ayat 30. He said that, if I may write in full, and then he said, ثُمَّ سَوَّهُ وَنَفَخَ فِيهِ مِنْ رُوحِهِ وَجَعَلَ لَكُمُ السَّمْعَ. So meaning that we are not only created in heaven, we are not creating, Allah sent us here, but we have His Spirit. So masawwahu nafakhati min ruhihi. Then He fashioned him and breathed into him His Spirit. Meaning, in ourselves, we have the Spirit of God. and appointed for you hearing and sight and heart. So this is our ability in order to develop our science, because we have ears, we can listen, we can hear, and we have eyes, we can see, we can watch, and we have hearts in order to rationalize things, in order to give meaning. So why don't you, qalilan ma tashkurun, only small numbers of us who are thankful to God. This is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned in Al-Qur'an. And he mentioned again, just I think a lot of you know about this surah. You can just copy the number of the surah and also the ayat. وَإِذْ قَالَ رَبُّكَ لِلْمَلَائِكَةِ إِنِّي جَاعِلٌ فِي الْأَرْضِ خَلِيفَةً. I mentioned you to you just now. And when Tyler sent into angel, Lord, I'm about to place a viceroy in the earth. They said, well, we place then one who will do harm. So according to angel, that this human being will do harm and they will shed blood, while we are always praise you, So even the malaika, even the angel, question about our ability in order to be a viceroy of God, or in order to be Khalifatullah fil ard. So then Allah mentioned just now, and Allah, وَعَلَّمْ Adam al-asma'a kullaha. Then Allah say in the next ayah, and he taught Adam all the names. So this is the ability mentioned by Al-Qur'an, that we can develop science and technology. If I look in front of me, this cup, I must understand what is the properties of this cup, why it can contain water or any liquid inside there. If I look something, I'm not only naming that thing, I have pen in front of me. I'm not just looking at this thing as it is, but I can also look at the nature of it, look at the properties of it. How can it benefit you, and so on and so on. So other creatures, even the apes, they don't know things around them. So they eat whatever provided by God for them to eat. But we eat something which are not directly provided by God. We in Malaysia, we take rice. Rice comes from paddy. And paddy is the final part of the plant. That particular plant only produces paddy. In order to change that paddy into rice, you have to know science. You have to know the character of that paddy, how to peel off the skin, how to separate skin from the seeds. And then when you get the seeds, you must know the nature of that rice in order to become a nice rice. In Malay we call it nasi, in order to eat. That's why we have beras and nasi. Nasi is a cooked rice, meaning that if you have more water, it cannot be rice that you eat. It becomes porridge. If less water, you cannot take it also. So you must understand at what temperature, at what amount of water, and how long in order to cook that particular thing. That is science. So even our meal does not provide directly by God, but we have to add science in it in order to eat rice. So just eating. Not other creatures, other animals, because they don't need science. But human beings need science. We are asked by God to wear clothes, to cover yourself and aurat. And in order to cover your clothes, you need this clothes. You need the sometimes cotton and whatever it is. And in order to change the cotton into a piece of clothes, then of course you need science and technology. And to cut that particular clothes suitable for you, and you need science and technology. So without science and technology, you cannot even live in this world. So how important is that science is to you? So meaning, that's why I try to share with you who is this human being from Islamic perspective. Of course, we are not talking about sperm, ovum. We're not talking about, we are talking about the ability of this creature in order to perform their duty as a vicegerent of God. That is our main different from other creatures. So, and Allah said in Al-Qur'an, لَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ فِي أَحْسَنِ تَقْوِيمٍ. Surely we created man of the best stature. We are the best. So don't allow yourself to be, human being cannot allow themselves to be, like a beast or whatever it is. So the way that how we interact each other, the way how we interact with the nature. So we must consider that we are the one who are entrusted by God in order to look after all this nature. And then and another ayah, Allah said, "Allazi ahsana kulla shay'in khalaqah." When Allah creates anything, He creates the best, and He followed by wa bada'a khalqal insan min tin, and He created insan min tin. This tin is not from this world. The first human being in Jannah, in Surga, in heaven. So our tin is not only this tin. Except if you don't accept other world. We have the other world. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Alameen is in plural. We have a lot of world. We have a lot of alam. So we make all these things good which He created and began the creation of man from clay. And then another ayah, Allah Ta'ala says, this is the final ayah that I'm going to share to you. Who is this human being? وَلَقَدْ كَرَّمْنَا بَنِي Adam. And Allah honors the children of Adam, Bani Adam. So why? وَحَمَلْنَاهُمْ فِي الْبَرِّ وَالْبَحْرِ وَرَزَقْنَاهُمْ مِنَ الطَّيِّبَاتِ وَفَضَّلْنَاهُمْ عَلَى كَثِيرٍ مِّمَّنْ خَلَقْنَا تَفْضِيلًا. Because we carry them on the land and the sea. You know, we are the one who create the transport on land and sea in order to travel. Allah create us so that we are able to travel land, sea, and plus and air, and we have made provision of good thing for them. Then this is what Allah did for us, and He has preferred them above many of those who we created, meaning that وَفَضَّلْنَاهُمْ عَلَى كَثِيرٍ مِّمَّنْ خَلَقْنَا تَفْضِيلًا. Mean we are better. We are better than those creatures. So don't try, if somebody said that you are from apes, we are lowering our honor because we are better than these apes. That's why we don't accept that. Because when they try to find, the secular scientists try to find who we are, they tend to put aside Al-Qur'an. They try to put aside gods. So to them, God has nothing to do with the science. So God cannot interfere with whatever happened in this world. That is what they say. But to a Muslim scholars, to a Tawhidic scientists, no, we don't believe like that. We said that Allah, when He creates something, He still, interfere. That's why in the story of Ibrahim, when they put the king put him in fire, and Allah said to the fire, cool and make safe for Ibrahim, bardan wa salama ala Ibrahim. And we know that the fire is burned, but in this case Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala interfere with the fire and ask the fire not to burn, even though we know the properties of fire is burned. But in this case, Allah interfered, meaning that the scientific phenomena is not absolute. It's only happen when Allah SWT allow it to happen. So the rice I cooked just now, I cannot eat it. I cannot be properly cooked if Allah SWT don't allow that. That's why in anything that we do, Allah is still there. That is the difference between secular scientists and Tawhidic scientists. And as a Caliph, Allah as a Khalifah Allah, we are responsible for managing this world. Of course, we are. So therefore, in order to manage, in order to be able to run, to be able to manage this world, of course, Allah SWT have to give us the ability. So in order to carry out this responsibility. So thus we have two main tasks to be delivered. One, whoever you are, finally, we have to serve our God. We are the servant of God. We need to worship God faithfully. We have to perform our duty. Why we have to pray 5 times a day? No, that because God asked us to do that. I cannot answer why. Why you must fast in Ramadan? I don't know. Because Allah asked us to fast in Ramadan. Why you have to perform your Hajj? Even you have, it's far from here, it's difficult, how to live your family, but it's not our duty to ask, but your duty is to find way how to perform that ibadah. Because if you ask me, the answer is very simple, because we are servant of God. Number two, our responsibility is to be Allah Khalif, to be the viceroy of God. So here we must be creative, we must be innovative, we must do some innovation. We must look at the thing, the properties of a thing, and try to innovate, try to be a creative person, not to to create something without nothing. No, that is the work of God. But to look at something, people know about oil is not coming something like that. Water, this clean water does not come with this. You have to process it. In order to process it, you must be able to understand the properties, the nature of that particular water, and then you are able to clean the water, and so on and so on. Therefore, we need to have a faith, uphold the concept of oneness of God, and have to follow all the instructions of Al-Qur'an and the Sunnah, because we are the servant of God. So to manage and govern this world, we need guides and rule. As mentioned by Dr. Shaaya just now, of course, we need Sharia, which is rule. We need technical skill. We need to improve our Allah say in Al-Qur'an, Alam tara anna Allah anzal minas sama'i ma'a. Don't you see how Allah SWT bring down the rain? And when the rain comes down, it fall down on ground, and the plant will grow. And you can see that different place, the hilly part and the lower part, we have different type of plant. And with different type of plant, there are different type of animal who each of them depend on each other. And then Allah Ta'ala say, وَمِنَ الْجِبَالِ and on the hill, you can see the color and whatever it is. As a scientist, we know that particular hill can produce certain type of rock. You can make that as a road, you can make that whatever it is. So this is how science develops. So we need faith in God and to follow instruction, because we are the servant of God. Here we have to understand the nature of this world in order.
Ni apa kursi tak dekat ni bila dekat ni.
And then
ni bila
okay.
Okay, yang dua ni okay lah, ni duduk sana dekat duduk.
So from Islamic perspective also, we are not only, as mentioned by Rain Discapis, that we have our mind, but at the same time we have 5 elements in ourselves that sometimes we don't. Sometimes we tend to forget about this. We have ruh, ثم سواه ونفخ فيه من روحه. So the ruh that we have, it has a function in order to fly with it, to order to do goods and to avoid all the bad manner, and to consume halal things, and to fulfill our responsibility as a human being, as a father, how to fulfill our responsibility to our children, as a teacher, how to fulfill your duty to the student, as a leader, how to fulfill your responsibility to the public, and so on and so on. So we have the ability, we have this responsibility, and finally we have the ability, we have responsibility to our God. So Ruh will tell you which is good things, which is a bad thing, which thing that you can consume and which thing you cannot consume, and so on. And number two, we have heart. Here I don't talk about akal. We have qulub. وَلَقَدْ زَرَعْنَا لِجَهَنَّمَ كَثِيرًا مِنَ الْجِنِّ وَالْإِنسِ لَهُمْ قُلُوبٌ لَا يَفْقَهُونَ بِهَا. Why Allah put us, jinn and human being, into fire, into hell? Because those who have qulub but never use it. Then وَلَقَدْ زَرَعْنَا lahum qulubun la yafqahuna biha wa lahum a'yunun la yubsiruna biha, because you have eyes but you never see, you have ear, you never listen. So this qulub is the thing that can do some analysis and synthesis and then give the meaning when you look at it, because your eyes looking for something, your ear listen for something, and then your qulub, after listening and also after watching, and then you can take the meaning. So, for instance, now why there is you done nothing to the people in Palestine, and people in Palestine don't have any any abilities in order to defend themselves, but the world say nothing. But if it happen other places, immediately they will take action. The Security Council and whatever. We have a qulub in order to think of this. So, and number three, we have our akal. Its function is to think rationally with the right and true information. And also Allah always asks us to think about this. هل يستوي الذين يعلمون والذين لا يعلمون? Is this the same between those who have knowledge and who don't have knowledge? And fas'alu ahla dhikri in kuntum la ta'lamun. Ask the people who have knowledge. So we have to think about this. And I mentioned just now, alam tara anna Allah anzala minas sama'i ma'a. We have to use our mind. And we also have the emotional intelligence mentioned by a lot of people about this emotional intelligence. So we not only have akal, we have all these things, and finally we have our physical body or jasad, which the place for the soul, heart, and mind to be there. And because of that, you have to keep your body good. I mean, in terms of whatever thing you want to eat, or you have to wash your body, and you have to clean yourself, and you have to cover yourself, and whatever it is. Also, we have this according to Islam. So with all these abilities, we are able in order to develop the science and technology. Okay, now is 12:42. How long I have the lecture? Hello? Do I have more time?
Maybe go up to 1 o'clock.
Okay. I had another 50 minutes. So I have another set. So this, of course, in Islam we know about the source of knowledge. At least we know Al-Qur'an and Sunnah. But according to Ibn Haytham, in one of his books,
you can give also some time for questions and answers after this, inshallah.
Okay, then I think about 10 minutes. So are they going to send me the question, or immediately question me? Okay. According to Ibn Haytham, in this book Samarah al-Hikmah, he said there are three types of knowledge. Of course, because he's a scientist. First, he tried to describe that ayatullah, Surah Ali Imran 190. Inna fi khalqis samawati wal ard wa ikhtilafil layli wan nahari laayatin lil albab. Ayatin lil albab. The one is the ayatullah, sign of God's greatness. So according to Haytham, this nature, it sometimes narrated you something. When you release something, I release my fan from this height, it fall down, and it fall to the ground. It don't goes up. So it tried to tell you something, actually. So water, you cannot cut water into pieces, for instance. It tried to tell you something. When tree, have a fruits, then finally that fruits, after certain time, the bird come and take it, the fruit, and bring to far away. It seemed to Ibn Haytham, he said that is a narration of God. Because it doesn't happen if God does not allow it to happen. So in that, try to ponder about this nature and try to find a rule and laws and how these creatures follow. That is, we call it science. So knowledge obtained from observing nature is not absolute, because I mentioned to you just now about this. And number two, sorry. Oh. Oh. I don't know what happened this. So number two, okay, we have a narration of Khabar from authoritative and responsible sources. Here he said, hadith is hadith, we know about that. It's already done, it's already filtered by scholars and top scholars in order to tell us which one to develop from Rasulullah SAW. But it seems that all the books, all the articles, all the writing from credible sources is also called as a narration. So that's why you can see that these people like Al-Farabi, like Ibn Haytham, they not only refer to Al-Qur'an and Sunnah, they also refer to Aristotle, they refer to Plato, they refer to the scholar who came before them. And then they try to Islamize it, or they try to give a new ruh, new soul to that knowledge. So that's why when Islam came, they are not only critical about the science who came before us, but also they give new version, new ta'rif to the. So you must be able to understand this narration. And finally, number three is from Wahyu. Wahyu, according to Ibn Haytham, of course, this one you have to accept as absolute truth. Meaning, if there anything again this Al-Quran, you cannot accept. Even though your eyes can see it, like people tell you that Nabi Ibrahim was put on fire, but it was not burned. Not ordinary fire, he was fire. Then your akal cannot, your mind cannot accept it. But Al-Quran say yes. So he said here you have to accept Al-Quran because it is absolute truth. Here this is truth which we call it a scientific truth. We are very limited and can be experimented, but it's not absolute. That's why Tawhidic science look bit contradict with the secular science, because secular science says that our truth is absolute truth. So that way it's contrary. So in Tawhidic science, or Tawhidic scientists always say that scientific truth is not absolute, because the theory of science keep on changing. If the theory of science keep on changing, like the theory of atom, in the old days we believe that if I cut my pen into small pieces and until the smallest one which I cannot cut anymore, we call it atom. Who said that? J.J. Thomson. And then J.J. Thomson come later on and correct that concept of atom. And then come Rutherford come, and then we change the concept of atom. So meaning that the atom is not absolute. And today, with the quantum mechanics, we say the atom is no more in the form of particle, but it's a waveform, and so on and so on. So meaning that science is not absolute. Science is changing according to your ability to understand that particular nature. So to Ibn Haytham, there's no contradiction between these three sources. The problem is how scientists understood the truth inclusively from these sources. So how to actually, when Nabi Ibrahim alayhis salam put on fire, wildfire, big fire, it didn't harm him. That is absolute. So how you are going to, harmonize this idea, scientific ideas and this? So we say that in Al-Quran, Allah can do anything. Hot fire can burn. We know about that. But the ability to burn is not belong to fire. It's belong to God. The ability of sharp knife, the sharp knife can cut, but the ability to cut is not belong to sharp knife. It belong to Allah. That's why when Prophet Ibrahim alayhis salam slaughtered his son Ismail, Allah replaced with God, with goat, with other animal, because Allah can do that. So to Ibn Haytham, if we understand both Al-Quran, at the same time we understand the nature, we understand the limit of science, where science cannot explain everything. That's why the book Peter Medawar writes about the limits of science. There are things that we cannot explain scientifically, like I love my wife. So what degree of love, what degree of happiness that you want in your life? So sometimes you don't understand. I don't understand how to make my wife happy, because the happiness is that belong to her. So maybe when she look at me and she feel comfortable with me, the happiness will come. But when she always try to cheat me, so happiness is not come. So at the same time, we ask for God to bless our family. So there must be God in our activities. So this is what, according to Ibn Haytham. I'm going to finish my slide, next slide. According to Al-Biruni, in order to be closer to God, we must be able to understand God's creation, because God created everything not for fun, not for nothing. There is a purpose for it. So when God creating and you try to study the nature of it, you will become closer to God. So God creating the best, I mentioned to you just now, who made all things good which He created, and He began the creation from three. Then understanding nature is not just scientifically understanding the characteristics of nature as understood by Western scientists, but also understand the meaning and sacral purpose. This is what, from Islamic point of view, we are not only look at the thing as it is, but we try to find the meaning and the sacral purpose of its creation. That is what happens. So this is, during the Islamic period, all these things. So when we talk about environment, whatever it is, those Muslim scholars who study science and technology, they are the one who fight for preserving this sustainable environment or whatever it is. So all phenomena that occur in this world are ayatullah, or sign of God. This according to Al-Biruni. It would be unfortunately if we could only understand the nature, but without understand the sign of the greatness in the creation of the nature. Why did God make that particular phenomenon? What is the meaning of that phenomenon to us, and so on and so on. And all this ayatullah is very important, because in order to carry out our duties as Khalifatullah fil ard, we need to understand how the natural phenomena occur and make sense to ourselves about this phenomena. If not, our duty as Khalifa of God will be flawed and imperfect. I think with that, I end my lecture for today. Inshallah, we see you again next week, inshallah. But if any question, short question, if you want to share with me, further.
Thank you very much, Prof, for your wonderful sharing today.